again, everyone. So I'm back to our next section, and our next section is about forgiveness. And Caesar and I, in our communication, really decided that this was the most important section. And I won't talk about the same things that he's going to be talking about, but I do want to let you know that I can remind you, I think we all know that our four-legged friends are much more forgiving than us two-leggeds, as he calls us, or humans. People will hold on to things that have not been what they perceive as forgivable. And there's a lot of things that we can learn from our dogs in this way. So I was trying to think about some of the things that I know that Caesar could have been less forgiving about, but was not. So, for example, vacations that we took. And we took very few vacations, so maybe every couple of years. And I can tell you that, it was so not easy for me in terms of we had a good time on our vacations, but let me tell you that I cried and cried and cried. And most of all, because I believe that he would think that he's done something not right. And are we ever coming back, right? So how do dogs know? They don't know, right? So they're in that space of uncertainty. And yet, when we saw him after we'd get back from our vacations, let me tell you, there was so much joy. There was no doubt about his forgiveness. And so that's one of the things. There's so many different experiences that we can learn from them that, again, for me, it was always that awareness that I wish I could spend more time with him, but I've got this to do and this to do and this to do. And this is so human nature that all of these things that we have to do can still get done with a bonding with our dogs where we're actually paying attention. Now, so much of the stuff that I did in the house when I was not with patients was with Caesar right on my lap. And I loved that. But there were those little moments that I'd really connect with him. And he was so forgiving about my time on the computer, talking to family or friends. He was so forgiving. He was so forgiving in terms of dinner times, where, of course, I was always going to have some little treats for him saved aside for him. But, sometimes dinner times or meal times would go longer in terms of our chatting. And he was right there, very forgiving. It was nothing about, pay attention to me. Though, of course, we know that our dogs, and Caesar especially, was definitely very vocal and always very expressive in pay attention to me. At the same time, there was always a lightheartedness about it all. So if a walk was a little bit later, or if it was a little bit earlier, he was forgiving. If we woke him up earlier or woke him up later, he was forgiving. In fact, your dogs may do this, they may not, but with Caesar, he actually waited until we were awake. So again, whether we were waking up early or whether we were waking up late, he was not going to get us up. He was so forgiving for a schedule being adapted to us. And how much do we adapt to others, right? So in terms of forgiveness, I would love for you, and Caesar and I really agree that what I've learned from him spiritually is that there's nothing really worth holding on to a grudge about. There's nothing. There's certainly some really not good experiences that people go through in life, and it's all relative, right? So I think anyone who's going through a not good experience would say this is really not good. And I think we all go through the things that are least easy for ourselves, yet forgiveness takes us much longer. And yet, if we can get to that space, it's such a space of freedom, right? It's such a space of ease because, again, we don't know how long we have with anyone. And if our energy is not forgiving, again, that's a lower vibration energy. I don't know if you understand vibrations, but vibrations are the energies that come out of us based on our emotions too. And I will tell you that when we're in sad, unhappy, unforgiving, angry, frustrated, worried, all of those are known as lower energy frequencies. And the higher energies are ease and comfort and joy and delight and happiness. And all of those things, is shown to us by our dogs constantly. And yet, when we're in those other spaces, we can't even see that message. So I would love for you after this section to sit and think about what are the things that you might hold on to that you might not be so forgiving about. So it might be about yourself that, oh, I should have done this, and that's not very forgiving. Or it could be about another, and it's easier to be in that space about someone else and not be forgiving about, no, that was just not right, and you shouldn't have done that. And that might be true, but the energy that's being emitted from you is affecting yourself as well as your dog. And our dogs know this. They have more of a connection to divine energy, the same divine energy that we've got. I call it, the soul or spiritual side of us. The same. We've got the same consciousness in that way, but they're more connected to that. They're more able to get into that forgiving space, which is so lovely. And don't you love that? It's that space that knows that this isn't worth it. What's worth it is the love and the affection and the giving nature that dogs do give us regularly. Now, we can be in that space. We can be very giving. I was very giving to Caesar, for example. So whether I was happy or not happy, I was very giving in terms of actions, right? So I could cuddle him. I could hold him. I could lie with him. I could play with him. I could treat him. I could feed him. But those are all doing things. When we're just in the space of being present, we can be very forgiving, right? And this is, again, not only towards our dogs. So let's say they've done something that's naughty. I can tell you, Caesar definitely tried to get away with some things. And I can say that I don't know how this level of forgiveness was so easy with him. And maybe it was because that was reflected from him to me. And again, that's such an awareness that I've come to an awareness of in my times of contemplation. Now, for you, you might notice that, yeah, they demonstrate this forgiveness energy constantly. Are you able to? Are you able to be forgiving? And I think most of us are pretty forgiving to our dogs. We might be forgiving to younger children. Most people, the least easy is other adults and then the self. So if you find yourself saying, why did I do this? Or I shouldn't have done that, or that sort of idea, that's not forgiving for yourself. And if you are finding yourself saying, why did they do that? And they shouldn't have done that. It's the same space. And we can talk about government and politics, or we can talk about the local concerns in your community, or we can talk about specific friends and family. But either way, or any of these scenarios, it's the same energy. So when that energy is coming from you of not forgiving, your pet, your dog, your four-legged best friend is feeling it. And to recognize this and suddenly become aware of this myself, I certainly did know it by the end of my relationship. I could not handle. Yes, I went through a lot of grief in that time, and I could not imagine him picking this up constantly, and I knew he was. And so this is really important for us to recognize what we are emitting from ourselves that are felt by other people around us, by ourselves for sure, and by our four-legged friends who are telling us constantly. Our dogs are such messengers of these basic messages that we kind of know at the back of our minds, but unless we're sitting and really thinking about what is happening for our dogs based on what is happening with us, sit and think about that. And this is not just for them. Remember, their whole mode is for pleasing us. They speak from their heart. They just do what is really natural for them. And for us to see that if they are feeling just a little bit off, that we can change ourselves. And again, as I said earlier on in this whole course, sometimes it's not so easy. The things that we go through are not so easy to be in a good space when things are not so good. And in those situations, we need to make decisions that can help both ourselves and our babies, our fur babies, who are definitely sensitive and aware of what we are feeling. So I can tell you that today, being in this spot today, I know is half of the reason that Caesar and I are connected so well spiritually. And so I would love for you to be there with your dog if your dog is with you today. And if your dog isn't, know that you can be there and connect with them on this level that I'm connecting with Caesar. And it is a beautiful experience. Do try to notice this for maybe the day ahead. Of course, I'm thinking the week ahead and maybe the rest of your life, because there's so many messages that we're constantly getting. And this forgiveness comes easy for dogs. So I hope that you have fun trying to practice that, because once it's part of who you are, you'll realize how many things can really just are rolled off your back, so to speak. They just slide off of you, because really we can learn from our dogs, and recognizing that we are affecting our dogs too. They're reminding us that it's affecting us, and it is. So I hope you practice that. Remember forgiveness, and you know that Caesar's got a few words to share with you too. I'll see you in the next video.
Hello everyone. Well, I thought, what better outfit to wear for this section since we're talking about forgiveness? Do you notice that we four-leggeds are very forgiving? We are. So Mom bought this wonderful outfit and she's bought me many, and I think many of you have seen me in them, and I forgive. I can tell you that I haven't loved clothing, but I think I carry it pretty well, so I amuse Mom. I know she's going to take a photo, I'm going to get a treat, that's the way it goes. But look at this. I'm not holding a grudge, I'm very forgiving for Mom. And I want you to know that you can be more forgiving too. In this section, I thought I would repeat our previous sections to let you know that forgiveness is the baseline that affects every single section. So let's say we talk about acknowledging the new. And you brought me home to a new home. You brought your four-legged home to a new home. And we forgave you. We might have even super appreciated you in that time, but if we were happier or thought we were happy in our previous home, we forgave you for taking us away from the previous home. That's acknowledging the new. Maybe we went to a place that you really liked and it's new and it's exciting for us to smell it, but it's for you and it wasn't the favorite place of ours, four-leggeds, and we're forgiving. Then we're talking about change. Sometimes there's a change that happens, and you take us for a car ride only to turn out to be the vet. And that's a change from what we expected, and we are forgiving. We've got sneaky actions, and all of us four-leggeds know that when we've done sneaky actions, you have not been so happy, and we are forgiving. A reaction to disappointment? Yep, same thing, vet trip, or perhaps we thought you'd be home for longer and you were out for longer. We are forgiving. When we see you, we're excited. Appreciation. This appreciation requires some forgiveness too, right? Because no humans are perfect, just like no dogs are perfect. And two-leggeds seem to forget that about both humans and dogs. Now, the nice thing is in our home, we had a lot of forgiveness for the four-legged. That's me. Everyone was very forgiving for me. I know that Mom even got to a place where if people were not comfortable with mini schnauzers, she didn't want to do work in the house with people who would not be comfortable with me. How forgiving is that about my, okay, perhaps loud bark? I love that about her. And we appreciate our owners for everything that they're forgiving for us, right? So there's so many things. Maybe as we get older, we might have weaker bladders and we might have accidents. We might have weaker bowels and we have accidents. And humans have been forgiving for us. Now, can you use that for each other? And can you use that for yourself? If you get home at a time that's later than you thought you would, can you be forgiving? If you're on the computer for a little bit longer than you thought you would be, can you be forgiving? And then appreciate the moment that you recognize this, that yes, you're forgiving and we're going to feel the energy from you. You see that? You hold on to guilt or not good feelings or hold on to a grudge and we feel that. But when you're forgiving and accepting and loving, we definitely feel that. So I want to speak for the four-leggeds today. Please know that we are forgiving you. Are you forgiving you? Are you forgiving each other? Take it from us four-leggeds. We don't know how to tell you in your language, but we're trying through this video. Hope you will remember that we are teaching you this every single day. Be more forgiving. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.